Yeah.
All right.
Not yet.
In a minute.
So folks are now starting to come in, Lee.
Okay. That means we can
Welcome
start.
them and
Chat away.
chat away, chit chat.
Oh, welcome, everybody. It is Friday night. We'll get started here in just a moment. But as you come in, would you please tell us where you are listening or viewing from? We're expecting a large group tonight. We've got Powerhouse in the house tonight. We'll introduce them in just a moment. So as you come in and we get ready to go, please get into chat. Let us know where you're coming from. Texas.
Mike,
We've got
Mike
20
McFarland,
Texas so far.
Corpus,
Florida.
Smithville, Reno, Canada,
Yep, here they
Melbourne,
come. Australia.
Hey, Phil Latham.
Yeah.
Yeah,
New
starting to come in Sunshine Coast of
Spokane,
Australia.
Washington, Nebraska. How
All
about
right.
that?
Yeah,
More
coming in on
Texas. Puget Sound.
Phyllis Lane up
Now
in
they're coming
Kerrville.
in.
Oh, Phyllis.
Dave Struckman. Hey, Dave and Kathy. So, guys,
That's great.
take it away, Maureen. Oh, wait a minute. Lee's playing Maureen tonight.
That's right.
So, Maureen is taking actually, she's going to be off the whole July. And just kind of give you guys a heads up, we are going to be not here. We will not be here next Friday night. We will be taking off for the 4th of July weekend. So, we'll make that announcement again on the back end as well. So, go ahead, Lee.
You bet. Hello, everybody. It is Friday night. This is the Redox 5, and we do have 5 in the house tonight. We excuse Dr. Maureen Hayes, who's away with her family and will be through the month of July. But we're so pleased to be here tonight, and we welcome those who are joining us live as well as those who might watch this in a delayed thing. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I am a dentist in the state of Washington. And we have with us Jim and Ann Glenn co-hosting from San Antonio, Texas, our financial guru and nutritional guru, Ann Glenn, also there. We're really pleased tonight to have back with us Dr. Marty Morin and Mrs. Beth Wofford, who are both, like all of us, are associates with a great company called ASEA or ASEA Global. We'll start right off with making a disclaimer. Because we are associates, we're representing this company, and hopefully we'll be able to explain to your satisfaction what that means tonight. But as such, and because this product is a supplement that we will address tonight, we do not make any medical claims to treat, diagnose, or cure along the way. With that said, I would like to introduce Dr. Marty Morin. He is a research veterinarian who has spent his life hanging around animals, and he knows everything there is to know about animals of all kinds, stripes, and models and makes. So we're going to really enjoy his take on the Redox signaling application as it applies to that, as well as he's always very well informed about just Redox signaling by cell biology and health and nutrition in us animals, if you will. Beth Wofford is with us also from the great state of Kentucky. You can see the horses running around in the background. And so she is a professional horse trainer with her husband and their family. And we're going to hear a fun update, hopefully tonight, on what's happening in her ranch. With that said, let's start with Dr. Morins. Marty, would you give us kind of a sneak peek into your coming into the fold of ASEA? What was it that caused you to take a look at the science, especially? I know you're very research oriented, but give us your what caused you to get into this? What tripped your button there?
Well, had a call from friends, and they were people we had worked with before, so we respected their opinion. And they told us they were trying something new. It was helping them feel better and do better. Would we learn about it? That was about all they said. And we watched their video. We asked some questions a couple of days later and bought 4 cases. To me, this was simple. A friend was recommending something, and I usually don't ignore that. I will say I didn't expect it to work. I mean, a saltwater product from Salt Lake City, give me a break. I mean, if it really had redox signaling molecules, I would have heard about it somewhere down the road, and I had not. what was going right at that point in time is that I was actually experiencing all kinds of health challenges. And my friends were saying I might see some improvement in those things. So I was willing to give it a try. I will say I had zero expectations that it would work, but because, most of these things that sound too good to be true prove to be not true, or at least they don't work for me. I will leave it there.
Hey, Marty,
this one just happened to work for me.
Marty, how long ago did your journey begin?
11 years.
11 years. Okay. And the company,
yeah, I got a sofa back there behind me. I was the old guy on the sofa in discomfort every day and had a prostate issue. My wife Kathy wanted me to go see the doctor. I didn't want to go see him, that's for sure. I had an eye issue. She wanted me to go see that doctor. I didn't want to go see that doctor either. So here I had this perfect excuse to play around with the product from friend's recommendation, and just happened to work.
Did they know that you were having problems?
No, they had no idea.
That's interesting.
And how much were you drinking, and what were you feeling that made you say that it was working?
Well, in those days, and the bottle still today says 2 to 4 ounces a day. That's what we were taking. I will say I hated the taste, right? I didn't like it. We didn't have the gel in those days, just the beverage. And so I basically did everything wrong, and it worked anyway. Now, do I recommend that? No, I don't. Please pay attention to the people who are bringing this to you and follow their instructions, even if it does taste a little funny at the beginning. I will say of ASEA that it's wet. It doesn't taste like anything. And so when you do get a flavor, it's just because you're out of balance. And at the beginning, I was super toxic. I was taking way too many pills. I was very toxic. And so my body started throwing all that stuff away. And that was what I was experiencing, was the fact that my body was out of balance.
Yeah.
How long did that take, Marty? How long before it started tasting like water? And then did it ever go bad to tasting like what we used to call it icky poo water? Have you done any of that along the way?
Oh, you bet.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, as we learned along the journey, every time it's usually when I'm taking extra during the day and it starts to taste bad. All that tells me is I need even more.
Oh yeah.
because my body is getting rid of something that shouldn't be there, and that's why I'm experiencing a flavor. But almost every day I just throw it in my mouth. If you stay with this correctly, do it correctly, it will just be wet.
Let's throw this over to Beth. Beth, could you give us the same question to you? If you could answer, like, how did you get into this, find out about it, and maybe some of your earliest experiences with it? Unmute.
You're muted, Beth. Beth, you're muted.
I was trying to be polite when Marty was speaking. Anyway, that was 14 and a half years ago that I found this wonderful product. I had a very, very dear friend who was a physician, a family practice physician. Not that that made any difference, because I listened to him because I loved him. And he and I have always kind of bandied about all the new wave, natural holistic things. Have you heard of colloidal silver? Have you ever heard of algae? Have you heard of this? And we would just go back and forth and say, I wonder how that works. I wonder if that works. Well, he called me one day and said, this is something like I've never seen before. I've never heard him talk like that. He said, this is going to be the biggest breakthrough in medical science as I know it. This is the biggest thing that has ever come about since penicillin. He was just waxing poetic about this stuff. And I said, great, I want it. Tell me what I need to do, because I had the idea that I was just going to stay younger longer. My husband and I have trained thoroughbred racehorses on our farm for, many, many, many years, decades, probably 50 years at this point. And we wanted to stay that way. I mean, people ask us when we're going to retire. I said, retire from what? And play with horses? I mean, what are we going to, So we wanted to stay healthy and happy and continue to do what we're doing for the rest of our lives, as long as we can move. And I love the concept of staying younger longer. I did not think I had any issues that I wanted to fix early on, because obviously one of the occupational hazards of horses is you get hurt a lot. So we have been broken bones and concussions and stitches, and through the course of our career, and our bodies heal back 100%. I'm so blessed, because I had this incredible respect for the human body's ability to heal if you give it the natural things that it needs, like rest and hydration and the correct movement and all that. And I've healed back from some very serious injuries, and I'm 100%. So I love the idea that this was something that is non-toxic, 100% non-toxic, and yet can just help our bodies heal and work the way they're designed to work. So it just optimizes our bodies and allows us to work better longer, which I just thought that was such an elegant, simplistic way of looking at it. And I was in from the very beginning. I will say I brought it home. My husband had a cold at the time. I drank some when my friend showed it to me, and I thought, nah, it kind of tastes a little like mineral water. And I brought it home, and Bill had a really bad cold, and he drank it and said, oh my gosh, this stuff tastes horrible. And I said, you are such a baby. It does not. Suck it up. What's the matter with you? Not knowing, it's like we know now that it's actually because he was sick. So he didn't get any sympathy from me. But anyway, it was from that point on, we knew that all living cells work the same way. So we had cats, dogs, horses, everything all over the farm. And I said, we work with young racehorses, which I always affectionately say they're like 1,000-pound Labrador puppies. They knock into each other, they trash, they jump on each other, they beat each other up, they do all these things, and just playing. And they have nicks and bumps, and bang their eyes and do all these weird things. But I really wanted to see what it was going to do. So I knew it wouldn't hurt. The first thing that happened, the first thing I thought of is we had a young filly that came in, and she had a really, really swollen up eye, which, it's sort of like when kids start school in the fall, and they start picking up all the germs and everything that they haven't yet been exposed to. And that's what these kids kind of do. They come in the fall, they've never left their farm of origin. So they come in and they get all stressed out, and they worry about where they are, and they pick up little things. They start getting snotty noses or something. And this filly they get really goopy eyes. So I thought, what the heck? At that point, I don't have one right here, but there's a little spray bottle. I had a spray bottle thank you, Marty. I knew you'd have one. Yeah, here we go. A little blue spray bottle. And I thought, I'm not sure she's going to tolerate this, because horses obviously instinctively are very protective of their eyes. But I started spraying it, and I just got it up to her eye, and she was kind of backed off a little bit. But as soon as it touched her eye, it felt so good that she leaned into me. She just kind of went, oh, and that's very unusual for a young racehorse to do that when there's an eye issue. And she just loved it. So I did that 3 or 4 times that morning, and turned her out, and her eye was half shut. So it was swollen enough that it was half shut. I turned her out. The next morning I brought her in, and that eye was normal. I mean, it was normal. So that was just phenomenal. I thought, this stuff is great. And then proceeded to kind of pour it into everything that walked. And the results that have come back to me through the years, that we have heard hundreds and hundreds of wonderful animal stories. And I love that. I mean, because you can't placebo an animal. That's one of the beautiful things about sharing this in this venue, because in this program, because really, if you have people that are starting to just say, oh, I don't know, does this really, like the Marty Morins of the world going, oh, I'm not sure this really makes sense. But then you hear somebody say, look, my dog had a very suspicious abnormal growth. And we started using this product. The vet said I needed to do this and this and this. We just started using the product, and lo and behold, this abnormal growth disappeared. So you start hearing stories like that and you go, you can't placebo an animal. They can't talk themselves into feeling better. So honestly, I think that's the best way to look at it as far as animals go, and just helping improve the lives of our beloved pets, because there's nothing better than seeing your pet feel better. So
That's right. Marty?
You're muted, Lee.
Marty, you're muted. And you're muted, Marty.
But
Lee, you're
before you stop, tell the story about your head issue. I know there's a lot of people listening out there, or will listen to the recording, that have that problem, and it seems very daunting to deal with it.
You mean my personal story?
Yes.
I had when I looked at this, and I just thought this is going to keep us younger longer. It never in a million years occurred to me that this could help with an issue that I had been suffering from for since I was 11 years old. And it was many years ago. No medication had ever helped it. It's the one-sided excruciating pain in my head that would come and go. First thing that would happen is I would go blind, and then I would get to where I couldn't speak. So I had about 25 minutes to get into a dark room, or I couldn't even ask for help. And that I had learned how to work around it, because it only happened about once every 6 months, about twice a year, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. Not like these people that have this horrible headache, 3 times a week. But when they did hit, they would absolutely wipe me out for 2 days. There's no way I could function. I've heard people say, gosh, I've had this headache for 3 days. There's no way I could function. So it was debilitating when it would hit. And it never occurred to me in a million years that it would help my headaches. But the fact of the matter is, after being on this product for about 6 months, I started going, when was my last headache? That's really interesting. And 14 and a half years later, I have never had another headache, which has been monumental. So
now let's be a little bit careful. This product did not fix Beth's head issue. It announced that it was there. And that was the big shock for me coming along in this ASEA journey, was all of my health challenges at the beginning. My body didn't know they were there. And so if we will supplement this technology, these molecules back to our body, you're already making them. You're just not making enough because now you're an adult, or some of us are even past being older, whatever you want to call it. But I will say that 11 years on, I'm not going to make any claims for being 25 years younger, but I will say I am younger than I was when I started 11 years ago, and for a good while. If that's of interest to anybody out there.
Well, it is to me. I'd like you to drill into that a little bit more, because both of you have seemed to have focused on this idea of, younger, longer. So could you describe that some more? There's people who are probably tuning in tonight or on the recording who are hearing this perhaps for the first or second time. And, that's kind of one of those claims that is out there in the broad, industry, especially the alternative health industry, that is certainly an anti-aging associated thought. But what do we mean when we use those terms, and what are you trying to say?
Well, when, again, 11 years ago, I was an old guy on the sofa, discomfort all day long. Again, the prostate issue, the eye issue, where doctors were asking me to come back and visit them again. I didn't want to do that. And so I had a product, and what I learned along the journey from people like Lee, Dr. Osler, and Jim and Ann, and other leaders in ASEA, they taught me that this product is helping my body know what's wrong, and then my body can work on it. And so, we have people who have issues in their head, like Beth just described, or their heart, or their lung, or their liver, or their intestines, or their arms or legs or joints, or it doesn't matter. Your cells need to talk to each other. Your cells need to announce to the body, we could use some resources down here, please. And if that call across the body to the immune system or to the neighbors even does not get through, you continue in your challenge, whatever your challenge is. And so one of the problems, I think, talking to people about this technology of supplementing redox molecules is we're saying it could help any organ system in your body. Oh, you say that's impossible. See, I would have agreed with you at the beginning. I would have said, you were absolutely right. That's impossible. But what's common about every part of our body is cells, right? So if I have a problem with the heart and I can help the cells, my heart might improve. So on. Any part of the body can do that. Or even the athlete. What does the athlete care about? How about joints working properly, or muscles working properly, or even making good decisions while they're competing? All of that is cells. We're only telling you you have the possibility to help your cells function better.
That's super. So did you see changes, like you mentioned, being on the couch, discomfort? Did you just all of a sudden one day wake up and, oh man, I'm moving around better? Or did you see the change with your PSA? What stage were you that you were like, because I know you did the half face Renew 28. I know Jim has that. We've shared that many times.
That was a little later, but we could show
Okay,
that
so that was
picture
a little
because
later.
it's kind of silly.
Okay.
But
yeah, but so
no,
that wasn't 30 days. That wasn't a 30-day.
It was really the discomfort. Kathy and I, we're actually up in Canada right now. It's good to see all the Canadians coming in. Welcome.
Yeah.
But and I'm sorry, my camera on my computer is adjusting to the light every few minutes. It's going darker and lighter. I can't fix it, so we'll have to suffer with that. But I had to move a bunch of mulch around in the yard. I got a teenage neighbor to help me. And now remember, I'm the old guy sitting on the couch in discomfort, right? Now I'm out, wheelbarrow of mulch going here, there, and everywhere. My wife, Kathy, was petrified. She's looking out the window and seeing me keep up with a teenager. And she comes out and says, will you stop? Will you come inside and let Ryan do this? Somehow I had no clue before this. Somehow I knew I could do that work. And the next day, I actually had an important doctor's appointment. And I expected to be incapacitated with, lactic acid and all kinds of other stuff. And I was absolutely fine. And so that was the first day I made a phone call. And I called my brother, who had just had some surgery on parts of his anatomy. And I said, you need to know about this. I can't tell you what it is. I don't know what it is. I tell you, my body is functioning better. The people who called us, their bodies are functioning better. I just want you to know. And of course, he got on, and actually, during that whole first summer, it was Paul who was teaching me, because he was listening to all the calls. And I'm in Canada out in the boonies, and I didn't have any access to the internet back then. We're obviously very adjusted to having some internet today. But no, he was teaching me that, hey, so-and-so said this, and somebody else had this experience, and you need to listen to that one. Of course, I had to drive to the library to listen to it, but, it was an interesting first summer.
Yeah, that's great. What about when the Renew 28 came in? Here Jim is finding the picture of you. So yeah, that's right. You came in much before the Renew was introduced. So when you first got the Renew 28, did you focus on the face? Did you focus on discomfort in other body parts? What did you do when you first started?
We were using it primarily with Kathy and her body.
Oh.
But no, I was showing people photographs like Ray Dunbon. I was showing people photographs of older people's skin doing better when the gel was applied. And And they said, Marty, you're just being tricked. Those are Photoshop images. So that made me that made me a little mad. And so I said, I'm a researcher. My face has two sides. I just put it on one side of my face twice a day, 28 days, took a single photograph. Actually, I don't know, Jim, if you have the original one with my granddaughter in it, because Audrey just turned 19 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So she that picture was taken when she was 9 and her skin was absolutely perfect. Her skin today as a 19-year-old is also very, very good.
That's awesome.
So, and
It's
she's
probably
used this
somewhere.
product faithfully.
Yeah. It's probably in the archives or United or somewhere, Real Redox. Somewhere there's got to be the original. I don't know.
So, Lee, can you kind of dig in? Because this is a for human consumption technology. Beth, you made the comment that, well, gosh, if it works on me, I'm cells, my horses are cells. But Lee, can you kind of discuss real quick that topic that we can't say it's for animal use?
Well, we are licensed with, regulatory bodies for human consumption or human use. And so that's why even our esteemed veterinarian here and our horse trainer explain with the caveats that this is for humans, but it also works on all cells. And that just, if you back this up and say, what is redox? Reduction oxidation is a fact of life itself. Life doesn't exist without reduction and oxidation, which again is kind of a deep rabbit hole to jump into, but nonetheless, that is what life is. And so anything that has life, including animals, is going to be improved with the improvement of the redox signaling capabilities. As Marty knows, as a research veterinarian, we do, like it or not, we do much research in the world, with animals to help us understand how humans can benefit from pharmaceuticals and all sorts of things. And the reason that is possible is because they have cells. And so this is a cellular health thing. And one of the things I'd just like to emphasize as we're going along here, I know there's been some comments in the chat to this regard that indicate that often people come at this and listen to this through a filter that is about pharmaceutical. It's about drugs and treatment of specific things or diseases. And that's, as we said in our disclaimer at the beginning, that's not what this is about. I like to use the term the inner doctor. We are doing things that wake up the inner doctor or the inner healer or the inner capacity to repair and rejuvenate and put things back in order that are not in order, that's creating disease and dysfunction. And all of that is a function of these technically the electrons moving in redox or reduction oxidation reactions in every cell of every body, period. And so that's why we have these disclaimers is to try and shift people's paradigm or worldview of this to say this is about cellular health. If I can make my cells do the job they were designed to do, it's going to mitigate, it's going to help resolve, it's going to help reverse, it's going to do whatever, regardless of the tissue or the organ system or the anatomical part or so forth. We're just making cells work better. And so we kind of have to get away from this drug mentality of, well, will it work with this, or will it work with that, or will it fix XYZ? And it's like, we don't make those claims. We can't make those claims, and we can't promise those to anybody because there's too many other variables such as genetics and environmental exposures and on and on. We just want cells to work right. And so everything that Dr. Morin and Beth are talking about as they describe its effects in the animal world has important logical crossovers to the human world, but we're not going to market it that way. So, Marty, I know that you have addressed that issue many times. Maybe you could follow up and put your spin on that for people.
Well, yeah, I don't want anybody running over to their veterinarian saying we can fix every animal in your practice. Don't do that with your human doctor either, I'll tell you, because they will just dismiss you like you're the crazy person. But, an image that works for me is a cell phone. Cell phone, right? This phone can't call any of the people on the screen right now. You say, yes, it can. Well, only because there's a cell tower outside. This phone needs help in order to call anybody to basically do almost any of its functions. Inside my body are cells. If they can't call and talk to each other, then I'm going to stay the old sick guy on the couch, right? Here's a cell tower for your body. Here's a cell tower if you want to help your own pets. That's how we deal with the animal world. We help our pets. We don't go running around saying, oh, you got a dog that's limping, you should be on these Redox molecules. Don't do that. Now, if your veterinarian is limping or hobbling around in the room, that would be a really good day to have a conversation.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you guys were in medical school back in the day. Did you learn about this reduction and oxidation? I know Maureen's talked about something. I have no clue what it is, but the Krebs cycle. So, but it's been around for a long time, right, Lee? I mean, this isn't just something that popped up and, oh my gosh. I mean, it's been around since the beginning, correct?
It has been around for a long time. The basic science of this is not new at all. When I was an undergraduate and as a graduate, I memorized the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain and all of the myriad of reactions and metabolites that were involved in that. It was actually, for me, I enjoyed it. It was the one chemistry class I really did enjoy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, go figure. But,
I did not enjoy it.
I avoided anything to do with that topic.
Well, I'm a little bit of a whyologist or a howologist. It's like once I know how things work, then life just comes alive. But the point is, this has been around forever. But what has not been understood is that in these redox or reduction oxidation reactions inside the cell, we always thought that all of the oxidants or the oxidation that was produced through just regular metabolism, just burning glucose and creating energy, we thought that all these byproducts were very dangerous, and that they killed cells. That's why for decades we've talked about oxidation and cancer and oxidation and heart disease and all of the diseases and arthritis and all these specific diseases have been linked with oxidation that we produce through these cycles. But what we never understood until probably about we'll just say the turn of the century, we didn't really understand that contrary to the opinions of the day where we took antioxidants in mass to get rid of the free radicals, oxidants in our body, we didn't understand that the body needs a little bit of them in order to upregulate or to turn on the cell defenses. And so we've been spending decades actually literally suppressing the very thing that was required to turn on anti-aging. This is if you're going to be younger longer or have a health span that more equals your lifespan, right? You have to have a little bit of challenge. You've got to induce, even if it's a mimetic or a pseudo stress. That's why we exercise. That's why lifestyle challenges. We want to stimulate the body to be responsive and resilient and capable and to be fit. And we do that through lifestyle, through diet and exercise and fasting and so on and so forth. All of that is the same redox principle, cell biology science. And so what we have now is we have an ability through essentially electrolyzing saline. That's, we talk about salt water. We're actually electrolyzing it and creating these reactive molecules that have the same effect in the body to turn on demand, the cell defenses that we need to repair DNA, cell membranes, proteins to keep us healthy. And so, I don't want to go much deeper in that science rabbit hole for us, but the point is that this is kind of new science. The understanding that there's what we call an epigenome. We all know what the genome is, the DNA. But the like epidermis is the covering over your body. It's the outer layer of skin. The epigenome is what influences or works on or overlays the DNA. And that's the trick here, is because we can now use these kinds of things to actually stimulate on command these repair processes. And so when Marty and Beth are talking about their utilization of these, every one of us have these same stories in ourselves or our family. We're talking about how do we get the cells to turn on, to activate the cellular repair, the DNA repair, the metabolic repair. How do we get that to happen in the face of all the insults that we get through our daily living? So yeah, I hope that wasn't too deep or broad, but that's kind of the why.
Well, let's balance it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll take it on a creation path. As long as there have been living cells on this planet, this process has been going on. Animals, humans,
Sure.
plants even. You can use these redox molecules on roses you bring into your house. My wife sprays all her orchids with these molecules. So this will even work for plants. Every living cell on the planet, from for wherever you think time started on Earth, then this process has been going on. Now, we learned about it in sometime in the 1900s, and they're studying it really hard now all over the world in the 2000s. But this process has always been there. And so if you were to get Dr. Lee Osler's book, where he's talking about waking up the inner doctor, he's talking about having your cells talk to each other, having your genes flip on instead of staying off. So it's not complicated. It's basically, it's just divine. Can I say it that way? It's always been there.
Absolutely.
A miracle that we all have now.
Yeah, Beth, can you kind of go over how you share this with your animals, with your horses, with your cat, your barn cat, with your whoever, whatever critters, and then Marty, you kind of tag on with that, because a lot of folks kind of, my cat or dog won't drink it, they won't do this, they won't do that. Can you kind of go over some of the basic rules, please?
Certainly. I'm seeing a lot of notes in the chat. Will it help this with my dog? Will it help this with my cat? And what Lee, I want to reiterate what Lee and Marty are both saying. Does it have a cell? Do your dog has skin issues? There's skin cells. So the beautiful thing about this product that I love more than anything else, and that's why I love the liquid almost more than the gel. The gel is wonderful, but we have to decide where to put it. You have to say, well, I'll try to get it to the issue. When you give this internally or you drink it internally, your body decides where it goes. And when there's an issue, the cells, those molecules are going to go directly to the biggest problem in your body. Sometimes that, interestingly enough, sometimes that's not the way you see the biggest problem in your body. But my dad was saying it's not helping the pain in my hands. But all of a sudden, but I said, I thought you're sleeping through the night and you told me you're walking 3 miles a day. Well, yeah, and I wasn't able to do that before, but it's not helping the pain in my hands. Okay, put it on your hands. And then all of a sudden, he says it's wonderful. So we don't have to make that decision, but that's one of the reasons why I love this for animals, because animals don't say things like, oh, it's not helping my hands when it's helping so much of them. They know innately that it's helping everything in their body and it's helping what the problem is. So yes, I do a lot of three-way calls with people about animals, which I love. I'd love to play that role, but the two things I get most is how do I give it and how much. What we have found in the last 14 and a half years, at first, everybody just said 4 ounces a day for people, for, whatever. I know it is not weight specific. So just because back in those days, we were drinking 4 ounces a day, and that doesn't mean a horse has to have 32 ounces a day. But what we found is that really more is better. And that is what has evolved. It depends on how sick your animal is or how old your animal is, because aging also, interrupts the production of these molecules. So all of those things, I always say more is better, but use your intuition and start with at least, start with too much, and then you see about backing out and titrate it so that you can find the part that's best for your animal. I've seen a lot of people in the chats.
Beth, you froze up. Why don't you tell them where they can go learn about it at the animal webinar site?
Why don't you go ahead and do that until she gets unstuck? Marty.
Beth, why don't you turn your video off for a minute, and maybe that'll help you be unstuck.
Yeah,
Okay, you're back.
Oh, am I stuck?
Yeah,
there
you're
you
back.
are.
Now you're back. Just for a little bit.
Yeah, about
Okay.
20 seconds.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Anyway, when you're talking about putting it or how much to give, more is always better. And then, give more than you think you need, and then start titrating down if you want to, and you'll find that sweet spot with your animals or with yourself. But also how to give it. When you're using the gel, the trick is to massage it down through the hair so that you get it into the skin. Or what we found is, and you can use it on the underside of a dog's ears or cat's ears or guinea pig's ears. We have a variety of species that we've heard stories about. Ferrets and guinea pigs and birds love it, and all of this kind of thing. There's stories about all sorts of species. But if you can find a place, sometimes your dog's maybe down on the bottom part of its stomach, their hair might be pretty light, so that you can get down to the skin there. Remember, even if their problem is on the dog's ear or on the dog's paw, if you put it anywhere on their bodies, those molecules are going to go where it's. So that's the main thing for that. The liquid, again, I love giving it to the liquid because you don't know what you don't know what else you're reaching. And of course, the molecules are going to go there too, even through the skin. So oftentimes dogs will drink this up. It really amazes me. We have a little rescue dog that's now 15 years old. He's a farm dog and goes 900 miles an hour. He's on 2 ounces of ASEA a day and has been for half his life. And he hasn't missed a step. He jumps up into the golf cart. He jumps up into the pickup truck, 15 years old. It's remarkable. He gets it every single morning, but he's very, very picky. So we have to kind of fake him out. Marty, you were even saying at the beginning that you did everything wrong when you started using the product, and it still worked. And that's the interesting thing. There's a very specific, don't drink it out. Don't put it with metal. Don't drink it out of the bottle. Drink it wait 10 minutes before or after you eat or drink anything, and so you have an empty stomach. Well, my dog isn't going to drink it out of a bowl, even though a lot of dogs do. So that's the first thing I would suggest, is try it first. We have to put a teeny little bit of food with it. Usually it's a little bit of tuna or maybe a little Parmesan cheese, something that smells kind of stinky, so that he immediately, as soon as we do that, he'll drink the whole thing up completely. Yes, do we miss a few molecules along the way because we put that in there? But he drinks it so quickly that most of those molecules are going to get into his system. And obviously it's working because he's going nonstop. We did leave him once, and I forgot to tell the farm sitter about how to give it. And I thought about it when we were flying down for a weekend away. And I thought, gosh, do I have to explain to put it in the bottle? No, maybe I'll just, give him a couple of days off. And he went lame while we were gone. I got home and started pouring ASEA down him, and he was sound the next day. It's sometimes you don't find out how much it's working until you stop for a day or two. So that's a great way.
That happens for people too. If you, for
sure
some
does.
reason, you're on a trip and you don't take the product with you, you may notice a big change while you're even away for a few days.
So Marty, fill in some of the gaps, maybe, if Beth had any. She was very awesome, but is there anything else you would like to add to how to do this on your animal, whatever the animal is?
Well, I'm going to give you a caution. If you have a cat and don't want a kitten, don't give them ASEA, because your older cat might start to be a kitten again. older dog, might start to be a puppy again. You need to be ready for that. And now I'm in favor of you having a kitten and a puppy, but you have to be the one that makes that choice, because this product will help all of us, four-legged, feathered, fins and scales on the outside. Beth has a story about fish. I mean, this product can help all living cells. I can't emphasize that enough.
But
Yeah.
it just, and again, you said it earlier, it just sounds crazy to have something as a medical professional, Beth, with what you were doing. You've been on it the longest here, but it just sounded crazy. How did you get over that? And I know you tried.
I didn't have to. See, to me, a friend was saying, try it. So I tried it. My dilemma didn't happen until it worked.
Then what did you do? What did you do then?
I called the leaders who knew how this technology worked, and I said, you have to explain this to me, because this looks like, I don't know, something very, very weird. But I knew it was working, so I wasn't going to stop. But I had my dilemma after it worked, because I didn't understand how it could do that. But we're sitting here with an option for you. And I would suggest there's a question. What if what all we're talking about tonight is correct, and you blow this off? My worry is that you're going to regret that decision. Strong recommendation is get it, try it. There are ways to know if, especially with the topical gel, there's ways to know if it works within just minutes. Pay attention to the person who's recommending this to you. Ask them how they can do a 3 times in 5 minutes little test. Ask them how they should use the product, and then listen. Don't do what Marty did. Listen to what they say. Do it correctly, and you have a fast response.
Lee, someone asked a question earlier, and I want, if you don't mind addressing it, as a dentist, that when you put the liquid in your mouth, that intuitively these molecules know the good guys from the bad guys, gets rid of the bad guys and leaves the good guys alone. Can you maybe address that real quick, that the body knows, and these are just adding more of you into you, so it already knows who the good guy, bad guy is?
When you say good guy, bad guy, what do you mean?
Germs.
Bad virus,
Bad
germs,
cells.
bad germs, good,
Yeah.
good bacteria, bad bacteria in your gut.
Well, we need to be careful, how we answer that question here.
That's why I'm letting you answer it, not me.
Because this isn't about treating, right?
Compliant. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some importance here, and if you can hear my words and read between the lines, then you'll get a better answer. But what we will say is that a redox molecule by definition is antimicrobial.
What does that mean?
Well, it's anti-bugs. It's anti-microscopic bugs.
Okay.
So
Safest thing you could take.
it inhibits them. Now, does that mean that it's going to fix oral diseases, as you were suggesting I respond to? And I'm not going to go there, because that would be getting really close to the edge of a compliance issue. But this is about connecting the dots. The title of the first book I wrote was Redox Matters, connecting the dots between redox science and biology, and so health and
get it.
So the point is that we have to, and people are asking, well, does it work for this? Does it work for that? I would send everybody to Google or Google Scholar and just say, type in a half intelligent question in your internet browser that says, what do redox signaling molecules have to do with fill in the blank, whatever it is you want to learn about, and read about 10 of the studies that come back. Read through the abstracts at least, and you're looking for, does it talk about redox signaling? And you'll find, after you've done this for 1,000 or 2,000 citations, that this is a really integral part. And I want to go back to a comment to play off of what Marty said about whether it works or not, because again, this is a drug mindset. If I take aspirin for a discomfort in my body and the discomfort goes away, I would say, hey, that that pharmaceutical agent worked, right? And I might be inclined to do it again the next time I had that similar ache in my body. If I took a tennis ball up on top of a 10-story building and I dropped it off the top, where do you expect that it's going to travel to? We know that it's going to go down and it will hit the ground because it's a law, right? It always works. Even though you may not be watching the tennis ball travel, it always works. And if you can take that, metaphor into the cell, people say, well, this doesn't work on me. I'm telling you that this works 100% of the time. You don't have to feel it or have it work as you define it in order for it to be working. It always does what the laws of biochemistry and electrostatic attraction have between proteins and on and on. Those laws always work. You put this in play, it always works. Now, if you want to get rid of your headache, take a drug. It'll go away in an hour, right? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about cells getting better because they weren't well 7 years ago, and it took 7 years for your problem to happen. And so it's going to take a while to turn that ship around and to hopefully make it better. So I don't want to beat that, a dead horse, excuse that expression here, but I don't want to.
We don't want a dead horse. We want to give it some redox molecule.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It works. That's why we have to retrain our thinking to say this is always working.
Right.
You just keep at it. Sometimes it's a dosing thing, sometimes it's a time thing, but sometimes it's because you've got really rotten genetics, that are the slope of the hill is steeper for you than say somebody else, and so you just keep at it.
Well, let me do a story about my wife Kathy that might help some people. Kathy, early 2000s, had a problem post-medical procedure where she was nearly paralyzed. Now, all kinds of good things happened and she was able to walk, but for 12 years, she had discomfort in her feet that would cause problems with going to sleep and that kind of thing. Now, Kathy wasn't complaining. She wasn't in a wheelchair. Some discomfort in her feet at night wasn't the biggest deal in the world to her, right? But then she started taking these molecules. And after a few, weeks, she didn't want to tell me about it because she didn't want to lose the benefit. But she thought her feet were getting better. And all right, now, Marty's an old curmudgeon, Western trained veterinarian. Nerve damage is permanent. End of story. Full stop, right? Well, no, it's not. Her nerve damage is gone. And that was 12 years in duration. Now, does it happen overnight? No. Because whatever the path was that got you to this challenge that you're looking for help with, however long that took, you have to do that trip backwards to get back to well. So in Kathy's case, she went through tingling to frank pain to feeling like she was walking on top of a golf ball. It was almost impossible to walk. And so she had gone all the way through to tingling and keeping her awake at night. Well, once she started using these molecules, she had to take that trip backwards. She went back through frank pain, but she knew what it was because she had been there before. So don't start with, I have to be well tomorrow. Don't do that. Take your journey backwards and believe in this, give it a try. I'll tell you what, any drug that's on the market today has gone through a 90-day test period. Is your body not worth 90 days to try out something that might help you with the rest of your life, having a better state of life? And as Dr. Osler talks about, health, not lifespan, because a lifespan in a hospital bed is not much of a life. Health span, HEALTH, health span is what we're looking for. Marty wants to be mobile and doing work around this cottage or at my house in Maryland. I want to be able to do that until the day that I'm on the other side.
That's right. Yeah, I just had 2 points. You were commenting about PubMed.gov. You know, people that are listening, don't wait till this or that shows up. Be proactive. That's what I've taught for almost 20 years, is be proactive of your health. Don't wait till something looms and, oh gosh, they found something. If you go to PubMed.gov, you can type in the word, just type in optimal health, redox signaling molecules, and you will find abstracts. Now, if you don't have a science degree, you may not understand how to interpret, but you can read between the lines, put the two together. Obviously, there's thousands of studies on it. And so you just need to take enough long enough. But since tonight's about animals, we can be compliant when we're sharing our own story. We have a wonderful story with our dog. We don't go around and say, oh, you know, do this to every animal, but we can share our story. And our dog is over 13 years old. Some things are showing up in 21. Thought that for sure might have been his last year. And at that time, he was already on about 2 ounces, but I noticed things on one of his eyelids. I generously did spray bottle and I did the Renew 28. And he absolutely, he's part shepherd, part husky, part lassie. He's a mix, but it's amazing. He knows the routine every single night. He knows, like I said, we started with spray, started with gel. Don't give up. He didn't lap it right away, but you can syringe, you can drop her, whatever way to introduce it. Now, when he sees, literally when he sees the 2 ounce cup, he sees the spray bottle and he sees the Renew 28, he knows the routine. He's ready for it that evening. And we have seen so many neat changes on an injured limb. We've seen it with his eye. That condition did not come back. We've seen it. I've seen it with his energy, with his discomfort. And a more recent one was, I thought he slipped during a rainstorm, let him in. I had to help him in. Jim had to help me get him in because he was in a paralysis of some type. Gave him 16 ounces and I walked away because he wasn't moving. And lo and behold, I came back into the side door of our house and he was already at the door. And we're talking quite a few feet on his own. And that paralysis left and it was less than 30 minutes. It was an amazing miracle. But just if you love animals like we do, just give it to them and see what this can do, because it's an amazing change.
There's been so many questions in the chat. Beth, give them some resources where they can learn.
Yeah,
sure. And I'm just going to go very, very quickly. You mentioned syringe. Cats, if with my cats, I put it in a little syringe in the side of their mouths and I just put them up on the counter and I support their chin with one and just squeeze it in there slowly so they can drink it. And large animals use it rectally. These molecules do not need to be metabolized to work. They can go in either end and it's going to go all the way through the system wherever it needs to be. So we give it rectally because whenever you give something that's watery to a horse orally, you can hold their head up for a certain amount of time, but they're always going to spit some out when you drop their head. And that kills my soul because those molecules are pouring out of their mouth. So you give it rectally, it goes in. They don't mind it a bit. They don't mind it nearly as much as people think when they think about it, but honestly, that's the way to give it. There are several different places that you could go to get more information. One is animalwebinar.com, which is password protected. The password is associate with a capital A. So that is animalwebinar.com. And there are close to 40 videos, half-an-hour videos of all different species. You can scroll through the thumbnails and they're there and you can watch the videos. My Facebook page is called Healthy Redox Pets. And that's where there's a lot of written stories there. However, I will put a caveat in here. We cannot answer questions on that site. You have to stay compliant and you need to be invited. It's an invitation only site because we are very careful about compliance. We're making sure that no one makes any medical claims. So we don't answer questions there. A lot of people don't know that. And so they'll ask questions. And sometimes I do private message with them and try to answer their question. but just know that that site is for stories only. So you can just scroll through there. There's some videos on there about about dogs taking it and cats drinking it out of the syringe, that kind of thing. So Healthy Redox Pet is a Facebook page that is a really good resource, I think. So thank you.
And you can invite a friend or you can tag a friend and they can read those. So that's a great way to prospect, is use those Facebook pages.
Real quick, I want to wrap it up, top of the hour. Do you guys share this with people, and what kind of response do you get?
Well,
Marty?
I've put a lot of veterinarians on this product. I think of the ones I've started on this technology, I'm the only one willing to talk about it. Medical professionals have a credential and they have a reputation, and they don't want to go around sounding like, they've just come back from Oz. So you need to have a little bravery to share this. But the point is, a lot of veterinarians use it, whether they'll talk about it or not. My guess is that's true for dentists and doctors and massage therapists. And, just there's all sorts of wellness practitioners out there, naturopaths, osteopaths. I mean, all of these fields have a touch somewhere where they're touching a body, a person, and attempting to help them back to wellness. And so they all deserve to know about it. Whether they'll talk about it or not doesn't really matter.
Beth?
Yeah.
My answer is I've never met a horse person that doesn't hurt. You go through a lot of bangs and horses trash you around. Even when they're being nice, they can slam you against a wall accidentally or whatever. All horse people hurt at some point if they've been with horses for any length of time. So go to talk to them about their own bodies. And I always add, and guess what? And especially whenever if they're an animal person, and guess what? They works the same on every living cell. So if you have any issues with your pets, feel free. It's completely non-toxic. Feel free to put it in any living being that you know. So, and sometimes people will say, "Oh, it'll help my pet." They'll try it on their pet before they try it on themselves, and they'll see this incredible result from their pet, and they go, "Oh, you think it can help my knee?" Yeah, guess what? Helps every living cell.
That's it. That's
Lee,
good.
what about you?
That's good.
My experience, you're asking?
Not
sharing it
it
with others.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. I love addressing people's issues, and it's like, but most of the time it comes through your own personal story. I mean, you can ask people the question of how are you doing? How's life? How's your family? And eventually, I don't know, half the time they're going to come up with something that is a door opening where you can begin addressing health-related issues or wellness or whatever it is. And again, it's just about asking permission. I don't like to, you don't just want to go and dump on people. You want to get their permission to share something with them. And however you go about doing that with your personality and your approach, I think is an important part of just being respectful for people.
Yeah, plant a
Yeah,
seed. I was going to say,
Jim, can I follow up? Can I follow up on what Dr. Osler just said? The company has, now again, my background is research. The company has some of the best research I have ever seen. And I've studied all of the processes that are going on through ASEA's research project. Nice little summary that you can find from the person who's talking to you about this technology. Pretty simple, 2 pages, talking about how it can help us with this antioxidant kind of question. But what I want to be careful, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now where primarily pharma is out there talking about their product as safe and effective. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, this is 100% safe. And as Dr. Osler told you, it always helps your cells function better. We're not telling you you're always going to feel it, but your cells always jump to a higher state of function. So it will be helping. And so don't run out if you're an AC associate, don't go grabbing the NRF2 study and go dump a bunch of science on people, because you're going to say this is safe and effective. And they have just heard story after story about pharma not telling the truth about that. So I agree with Dr. Osler. Tell them a story. Get a story about an animal from animalwebinar.com. Go to one of the human testimony sites. Get a story. Get your own story and tell people that your body is functioning better and they may be interested. But don't run out and dump science on people. They probably don't care or don't
Right.
understand.
They care that it works.
Yeah. And I'm
They
glad
just
Beth
care
you
that it
mentioned. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Beth. People that work with horses, because there is a lady on the edge that does work with horses and has a whole host of things going on. I think she'll enjoy tonight's show. So thank you.
Well, guys, thank you.
Sure.
Beth, as always, Dr. Marty,
Yeah.
Lee. Guys, we are taking off next Friday
Friday.
because it's the 4th of July weekend in the States. So we will be back the following Friday. So we'll get that message out. We'll get that flyer out soon.
And who is that date?
I don't have that lined up
Okay,
yet.
it's not
So
lined
I've
up.
got multiple calls out.
Special
So
secret.
this recording will be available within the hour correctly at redoxmatters.com under the video tabs. And so we want to thank you. Remember, this is a technology you need to stay on for the rest of your life. You don't get better and quit. I kind of be proactive before.
Yeah.
Be proactive before. Because, guys, everybody has something cooking in them that you don't want to have. And so be proactive before something happens. So, guys, thank you.
That's it.
God bless.
Thank y'all.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Y'all were awesome.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Happy
Thanks again.
4th next
Happy
week.
4th next week. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.